So I'm not Dr. Batra for sure, and I have to fit into his shoes. I'll try to do that. But thank you so much, Vikas, for joining us. During the course of the day, we have had a lot of discussions on the various facets of the startup world, from where we really can become much more than what we are, to the kind of great work we are doing. Let me first ask you this question that there's a great story around startups. They are doing great work. There's impact. There's business. There's profitability. Is there anything that can improve still? And what is that?
Thank you for having me here. So I think there's always scope for improvement, right? So it's always the journey. Still India is shaping up. If you see still today, I think US and China lead in terms of unicorns and other. So I think the ecosystem is improving in the last 5 odd years or 7 odd years. There's been massive shift in terms of promoting the startup ecosystem. You can see that so many startups are emerging today. And even the government schemes, I think there are a lot of advantages to start up and to try your own. I think ease of doing business can be improved more, but I think I have seen a massive shift. I have personally been a beneficiary of a lot of government schemes in my early stage. Though I got a grant of not a grant, a loan of 75 lakh rupees under the CGTMC scheme, where when I didn't have capital, right? Assuming that if that 75 lakhs from the government scheme would have not happened from the Startup India scheme, I would not be sitting here with you today. So I think it's been a journey, and things will keep improving. And for India to become that superpower, become that the Amrit Kal, what we talk about, become that big superpower, the leading top 2, top 3 country across the globe, I think there are a lot of things have to fall in place. But I think we are in great space, and blessed to be doing business in this era in India.
So you're saying that what we're hearing about the government initiatives are having a real impact, and your story is definitely one of them, right? That's what you're trying to
Absolutely.
say.
I think I cannot thank enough. 75 lakhs at the time when I was starting up is worth, say, 100 crores today.
Right. There was another point that we discussed during the course of our earlier conversation, which was about startups being obsessed with tier 1 and not looking at the opportunities that lie in the tier 2, tier 3 markets. Is that true? How can we look beyond these comfort zones? What is the way to look beyond these comfort zones? Look at any offering. It has a urban context woven into it. How can we go beyond this mindset?
See, it's not about being mindset. See, again, as you told, there are a few shortcomings when you want to actually penetrate the Bharat, right? The logistics is a bigger problem in place, right? So I think thanks to the e-commerce boom and thanks to the smartphone and the internet penetration, that has been solved to an extent. See, earlier, for a young company like Happilo to reach to, say, a million consumer across, say, the metro cities and the tier 2, tier 3 cities would have been very difficult. But today is the in the era of booming internet, smartphone penetrations, and a lot of digital connections. You see that the incomes are rising. You see that there's a lot of different types of consumption happening through digital. Earlier, TV was the only media to reach the masses, and very difficult for startups to advertise on TV, right? Even for the first 4 years, we never went on live television to advertise. But in the 5th, 6th year, we actually went there as well. E-commerce give you that penetration, and and that's what has happened. Today, our data says that almost 30% of our consumers actually are from tier 2 cities. Though we largely have not actually gone there through a physical channel, we have largely gone through our own website, where we sell on happilo.com, and also through the marketplaces and the different kinds of platforms we operate in.
Right. The startup culture has become so prevalent that every other guy wants to disrupt and do something. Of course, you have built a successful company, and there's a credible story that you have. What is the way to build a successful startup, if I have to ask you this?
Well, that's $1 million question, I think. So there's no single word or a single statement to actually build a successful startup. I think most important is to have the conviction. I think the founder has to have that conviction to make it big. If the conviction is not there, if you don't believe in your idea, I think that will be the biggest deal breaker. Second thing is to build a great team around you, right? I think a lot of times what happens in the early stage, even I was, I was also The mistake I did was I didn't build a great team in the initial phase. I wanted to do everything myself, but over a period of time, I learned that to build that big company, the great company, I think to have that first level of team, where if you're not even in office for the next 15 days, there will be no work which will be hampered. So I think delegation, building a smart team around you, and empowering them to actually take bold decisions is actually one of the most key important decisions for any startups to scale. If it is run, by an individual, it becomes a kind of a self-employed and not an entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship is true when you actually create more entrepreneurs within the organization.
Wonderful. There's another question. India has, of course, the appetite to kind of, sell any product domestically, which has stopped us. We don't globally have a big brand, that is like an Apple or a Microsoft. Do you think entrepreneurs like you are looking at conquering the global story as well? Is that thinking, has that thinking started? Because so far it has not happened. We have been consumed by a domestic demand that we don't look outside.
See, I always say India is a land of many countries, right? UP itself, if it would have been a separate country, it would have been the fifth largest country in the world. Right. So here there's massive domestic consumption available. So that's why Indian brands actually don't need to go outside. But personally, when I started Happilo, right, so I always saw there are a lot of local dry fruit shops in every city. I wanted to be that nation's biggest dry fruit snack brand. And today, after reasonably being there as a category leader, our aspirations are global. We're actually, expanding to Dubai as soon as next month, and we actually have global aspirations. When I go to Dubai in the retail shelves, the European brands get more visibility and better buck for their pack than from a brand from India. My personal goal is to actually change that, build something big out of India, and be a country where we can actually build brands. I think India's focus on building brands was not there in the early stage because a lot of them was, doing private label or trading across the globe. But now in the last few years, you have seen big brands emerging, right? So I think the next decade, the next century actually belongs to India. You'll see globally Indian brands being sold and available everywhere. And I am firm believer, and hopefully Happilo can play a part in that as well.
I have to come to ask you the Shark Tank stint, and in fact, there were a couple of people who have featured on that one of the episodes, and they were saying that they got the investors opened the doors. They got new funding. When you look at a show like Shark Tank, what are the biggest takeaways for you from that show?
See, I was pretty humbled and, to be a part of the Shark panel there. I was there as a guest shark in the recently concluded session. I think the biggest thing takeaway is that it opens the mindset, right? Earlier, I am not sure how many parents would promote their children to start up because it's actually a risk taking, right? And we as a country are never risk takers. We always want that stable income to come, satisfied with the job. You tell me how many MBA colleges actually promote saying how many startups they are able to help build. They only publish the placement records. They never publish how many startups were actually came out of that institute, right? So that's the mindset that to change. Shark Tank is one such thing which will help that change. The dinner table conversations from who is doing the job where is actually changed to what actually India is building, what actually young entrepreneurs of India are building. They're learning about equities, they're learning about shareholding pattern, gross margins, and other things like that. So that's the biggest change what Shark Tank has brought about in India. And I firmly believe because of shows like Shark Tank, there will be a massive change. You will see a lot of people starting up who have a great idea but lack conviction actually to start, will actually take that step. And I firmly believe that shows like Shark Tank, even more shows should come like that and actually help that mindset to change. And obviously, it's not only in metro cities. You can see that change happening in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. The Bharat is truly coming up.
Mindset is a very critical part of any startup journeys. Of course, management cannot teach you what a mindset can do for you, right? Of course, when you're not having the capital, then having a mindset of belief and that I will create an opportunity. How has your story been when you were not having capital, but you had an idea that you believed in? Are there any phases of struggle that you've been through that you would like to that stayed with you, are still make you grounded, and you look back and you're convinced that I did that, I can do much more?
See, honestly, capital was a big barrier when I started. I didn't have capital. I started the company with very, very modest money, right? As low as 10,000 rupees. I was in the toughest phase of my life. And basically, Happilo stands for happiness and love. That's what I wanted at that phase of my life when I started Happilo. So very small beginning. I was, blessed to have a life partner. My wife gave me some 20 lakh rupees of loan. That was actually instrumental initial phase of life. Then I told I got some, CGTM scheme, some funding as well. Funding is definitely most important because without capital, you have a great idea, but you will not be able to execute. So you should able to, mobilize how you can actually take support from the ecosystem, how can actually, take benefit of the government schemes, what is available, and try to make it work. But I firmly believe if you have a great idea, you have conviction, you have a good founding team, I think capital will never be a deterrent. If people talk about funding winter, for me, first 4 years of my startup was actually funding winter. I used to pitch left, right, and center to investors. I was rejected almost 20 times, whenever I went to there, because no investor wants to invest in food companies, right? Because it's difficult to build in India food startups because there are 10 lakh stores or more. And how will you beat a distribution network of a PNG or an Nestle, right? So it's very difficult. So it takes courage for even investors to invest in startups if don't have a proven model. Somewhere, if Uber is happening in US, they will invest in Ola in India. But Happilo is something unique which has not happened in US. It's starting from India and going to the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, one of the conversations in the startup world is that there's certain mindset of looking at being driven by valuations, being driven by profit alone, without looking at the social impact that was meant to be the core ethos of any startup. How do we de-link from the mindset of valuation and actually create social impact which trickles down to the last mile as well?
See, to be honest, every entrepreneur, the day he starts, he creates a social impact. I started with 2 employees in 2016. Today, we have a family of 700 people, right? That's a social impact. We have people from all strata, across different languages, pan-India presence. That's the social impact, I feel. Giving back to the society is very important. As the startup grows, eventually there will be a lot of things which will happen. Uh, Paying taxes is an impact, generating GST revenues, creating distribution model, reaching out to retailers. And whenever there's a spend happening, right? Well, we sponsored IPL this year. We are partnered with RCB, right? We are spending money there, right? Again, it's infusing capital back to the system, right? Any economy only thrive when there is expenditure, when there is consumption. Every startup contributes towards that. Earlier, it was only for the big boys to do that, but now with the ecosystem, what is there, with the mindset, what has been growing in the last few years, you will see a lot of new unicorns coming in. So yes, tough times will happen. There will be some times when fundings will not be easily available. There will be some situations where the startups will feel the heat because it is a tough world out there. It's not easy to compete. There will be times when some decisions will go wrong, some decisions will go right, but it's about the impact what the startups can create in the long run. There will always be tough moments. There will always be media would like to pull down a upcoming startup because there will be mistakes will be done, right? So even Tata is Tata today because of the 100-year legacy. But the startups are doing it in 5 years, 6 years. You have to give it to the startups for that. And that is what will create the new India.
Right. So, as a entrepreneur, how do you create mind space and time to maybe innovate, to look at things, because this 700 employees, then your global ambitions, and so much happening around. How do you create the mindset to rethink, look within? Do you get time to do that? You kept people to do that? How does it work for you?
See, honestly, first 4 5 years was all running around everywhere. I never had this opportunity of thinking because I used to work like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, no holidays. Last 1 or 2 years, once we raised decent funding, once we built a good team, I get space for myself. Every day, half an hour, I sit with myself. I plan my day, or actually, I plan what do we do next. Like I cannot be planning what to do today. I have to be planning what should the company be doing in 6 months down the line. What product should we be building? What strategies should we be building? Where should we go? Should we expand globally? Should we set up a new factory? Now, for example, Diwali is coming up. For us, Diwali is one of the biggest months because the consumption increases pan India, right? So we have to plan that in February, March, April. We cannot plan sitting in August or September. So basically, for a startup founder, it's very very important to think about 6 months, 1 year down the line, not and also be also thinking how do we make the day successful. Again, everything boils down to the team you have to create. Initially, I lacked in creating a great team, but I think now I'm very proud of the team what we have. And so similarly, I think everyone actually has to being a founder. You have to wear multiple hats. You have to be a finance guy one day, a marketing guy, an operations guy another day. But that will the happiest things is that and I always say being a founder, there is nobody there to tell you. That's the best thing. But the worst thing is also that being a founder, there's nobody else there to tell you what to do.
So you have such a great success story. So when people come with their ideas to you, for example, at times, people want you to invest in their companies. So what are the factors that look at you? Is the idea has to be completely out of box, or is it about the passion that the founder brings in? What do you look at? What are the factors that you look at when you are investing in a startup?
See, I do angel investing very actively from the last 2 years, even before Shark Tank happened. So I look at the founder's vision and the clarity of thought what he has. I totally go by the conviction of the founder. For me, it is never about anything else other than the founder himself. And the second thing, most important, would be the TAM, the total addressable market, because the market size has to be big, and the founder has to have that conviction. Because come what may, he will be persistent and try to make it happen. I always quote this as well, that running a startup is actually a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to keep going, fast, slow, doesn't matter. There will be times when the tough times will come, but you cannot stop. So I just look for that never give up attitude in any founder when I want to invest. And also the total market size is very important.
I have two more questions, and I would like to open it up, for maybe people will benefit from your advice as well. One is, building a culture. Of course, it's a vision of the founder. Then, there's team that works on that vision and makes it successful. So, building that culture of success within an organization. How has Happilo done that?
See, in the company, we have a very open culture. I am accessible to almost everyone in the company. So we are a kind of flat organization where I believe everybody has the right to innovate, has the right to put their ideas forward. It's not only for the senior ones to do that. Everybody has an equal opportunity, because ideas is such a strategy is such that it doesn't come by qualifications or degree behind you. I never look at degrees when hiring people. I always look for the intent and the passion what they bring in. So for me, it should be startup. We are startups for a reason, right? We are not a big conglomerate or an MNC where you have a lot of hierarchy and bureaucracy going through. That's what makes the startups cool. Where we are one everywhere. Whenever we go for a corporate outing, we go for an IPL match together. And as somebody was saying, directors don't need to have a separate washroom. We don't have.
Wonderful. Indian startup story, of course, has a lot of successes to it. We have done a lot in that space. Where are we headed, say, 2 years from now? Where do you see the Indian startup story? Which way is it headed?
See, globally, you see, there's a turmoil right now. There's a lot of pressure in terms of, people say recession will come. And I feel India is recession proof because we have so much domestic consumption. All eyes in the world are looking at India because we're like 100 plus crores people here who can actually.
We don't have to worry about the global part. Yes.
Absolutely not. I was actually talking to my investor. I was saying, I want to expand globally and things like that. He said global brands expand to other countries because they don't have people who can consume in India. Go to Germany, right? You don't have people there. That's what they have to sell to come in India to sell. If you go and sell to Germany, you don't have people to sell there, right? Here you just capture one West Delhi, you're done with Germany. So that's the kind of potential we have. So why do we need to look outside? And that's the advantage as well. That's why I say India is recession proof. Only thing is we have to get our things right. We have to think smarter and we have to focus on building brand, which is larger than life.
Right. Any question before I ask my last question? Yes, Samesh. And yes, two questions, sir. Yes. Oh, okay, let's take it on the mic so that we can record it also. Yeah.
So you were mentioning that startups are doing things differently, and I think the larger differentiator that was built for most consumer-facing brands was D2C as an ecosystem. But given the last few years, D2C has become uber competitive, and with Happilo, you're 100% building a brand, but it's also a commodity that you're trading in. So, do you still see D2C as a primary driving factor for the brand, or retail taking a lot more emphasis? Is the conventional path something that you're looking at now?
See, for us, we were never a company focused on D2C channel per se. It was always an added channel for us. We focus a lot on selling through marketplaces, on e-commerce platforms, and we have availability across 15,000 stores in India. So we largely focus on the conventional path also. But saying that D2C is a channel which which is what if you want customers to buy from your website, you want to learn about them, you want to see about their consumer preferences, you want to see when you launch India's first dry fruit bar, which is based on only dry fruits, how the customer responds. You want to do that quick sample with them, quick pilot with them to understand if they like the product or not. So D2C website is not about getting your 100% revenue from there. It's about getting 5% revenue from there, no problem. You get the insights from there. You know who is your TG. You know what they understand. You get to talk to your customer directly. But when telling 15,000 stores, right, you don't know who is buying there and who is buying it for what. And end of the day, I believe every product can be a commodity. Water is a commodity. Idli batter is a commodity. Dal chawal is a commodity, right? There have been brands built after that. So it doesn't matter what you sell. Does the brand connect with the consumer is most important. In fact, to answer the question, we are also opening our own retail stores. Today we have 4 retail stores which only sell Happilo. And by the end of this month, we'll have 10 retail stores. If things go, we'll have 100 retail stores. We have to create experience centers. We might not be a smartphone company who want to touch and feel, but we want people to try our products. When we sell through marketplaces, modern trades, we don't get an opportunity to actually list our entire range there. But through our own stores, we can give that experience to customers. It's more about learning about the consumers and interacting with them multiple times in a day through various platforms, through malls, through own website, through marketplaces, through e-commerce, through general trade, modern trade, and all those stuff.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to do a lot of cross questions.
3 more questions. Okay.
You can do it offline.
Let's go to there's Resham, there's one more and 3 questions there.
Hi, Vikas.
Hi.
How do a young entrepreneur or young enterprise early in their journey can decide when is the right time to actually go beyond a certain level of growth? Let's say, be it for launching a new product line or expanding to a new geography. Because when the entrepreneurs and enterprises are younger in their journey, they have a most potential to fall out, crisis. What can be the right strategy to spot that or to track that right time, right age to expand and go beyond? What is that inflection point and how to decide when to expand?
See, as we were earlier discussing, you should always keep some time for yourself to do all this strategization, right? If you're totally involved in the operational stuff day to day in, day out, you will never find this inflection point. The challenge is how do we actually find it out and make it actually large? I'll tell you one story of Happilo, how we were able to do it. Then COVID struck, we had lakhs of inventory stuck with us. And we had 100 plus team who had to pay salaries. We were shut for 15 days. I was actually very scared at that time. That was the scariest time of my career with Happilo and while building Happilo. So I went to the local commissioner there. I requested for some passes because I said food is something which is essential. He never believed that dry fruit and snacks can be actually essential products. I said it helps in building immunity. Everybody at home wants to eat healthy. And e-commerce is allowed to sell and we are suppliers to e-commerce. So that's how it started, right? It was a very small thing. We could have actually sat at home, worried about being around. But that was a changing time in Happilo, right? We grew business 4x in the COVID time itself and also raised our maiden fund of 100 crores in the COVID time itself, only because there was an opportunity which could have been taken. I could have also sat at home and think about Bahar COVID, I will not go. As a startup, you have to take risks. There will be opportunities which come. It all decides how you want to actually take it. You want to take time and you decide later or just jump on it and take that thing. But there is a lot of risk involved. But as startups, we are known to take risks. So I think that works for us. During the COVID times, we actually, was a big thing what we were able to pull off because everybody was eating at home, buying from e-commerce. and we are one of the largest brands on e-commerce platforms. So that helped us scale the business from say to 4x. And in fact, our strength of 100 odd manpower or 100 odd teamwork actually went up to 300 by the end of the COVID times. So these actually are small things. There are opportunities lurking around everywhere. There are opportunities which are there. It is about who can grab them first.
So the opportunities are always there. Okay. Yes, gentlemen.
Thank you. I am K.K. Roy Chaudhary. I'm a consultant in Delhi. Since morning, I have been learning a lot from the youngsters. And being the last session, I want to look at a very wider perspective for your startup ventures, which is nothing but a broader policy driver. Like India is president of G20. G20 has
No, sorry, so we need the question for him.
under that Startup 20 has been initiated to support a global narrative and synergies between startups, corporates, investors, and innovation agencies and other ecosystem stakeholders. So how you people are, what is your optimism from such initiative? Very great initiative.
Okay, so G20 has a lot of focus on the startup. What is your expectation from it in a way?
See, I think it's good that you have summits like G20, right? There's also a pressure on the government to actually do a lot of things for startups, community as well. And so when you see events like that, you see what's happening around the globe. So every country wants to actually promote their startups, because startups are who will provide the employment opportunities, who will be the GDP drivers, who will actually build that next big thing. Because gone are the days when legacy business will take 20 years, 40 years to actually build sizable businesses. Today is an era where 5-10 years is a massive amount for somebody to build a business. If you see unicorns happening in the last 3-4 years, all have been built in say 5-7 years of time. It is not that they've taken 20-40 years. These are the results of initiatives like G20 Summit and the Startup India schemes, the CGTMD schemes what the government has, the PLI schemes where you invest and you actually get up to 40% back as subsidies if you're able to perform as per the policy. So a lot of initiatives are there, not only at a global thing, but at the state level, at a center level, there are massive opportunities. And everything is there in black and white on the website, on the state website or the central website. So it's very easy for startups to understand what is available. You don't actually do say a G20 summit.
Right. My friend had a question. Yes. Last question. Yes.
Thank you for that. Very insightful. You have now got onto IPL, right? So what's your success going to look like once how are you measuring that? I'm sure it's taking a lot of money that you're putting into this the system that you said. Have you seen an uptake in your sales, or what will you consider as a success after this IPL investment?
This is the second year of IPL where we are participating. Last year we were the title sponsor for Rajasthan Royals, right? And it was a very bold step on our part. As I told, startups are supposed to take risk. That's one of the riskiest best I have done till date. It did fantastically well for us. The same month we did not see any spike in sales, but it gave us massive brand visibility pan-India. We actually launched our first brand campaign along with it as well. That's the first time we went on TV also. But during the festival season last year, that was around post Raksha Bandhan, pre-Diwali, we saw a 3x jump in our revenues. I don't know how will you attribute to that to an IPL spend or not. That's anybody's guess. It's very difficult to actually measure marketing in today's world because there are so many consumption medias today. You can be Facebook, Instagram, TV, Hotstar, YouTube. There are multiple channels where you can actually spend money. I forgot saying print because nowadays people don't read much print. But I'm saying the consumption has, vast vary of consumption. It's very difficult to actually measure. But as a business, we have done fantastic level in terms of growing our team, in terms of hiring people. See, marketing also helps you hire good talent, right? And also scale up revenues. So we ticked both of them. I'm sure if you call that success, I think it was a successful campaign for us. And this year we are actually partnering with RCB because we are again Bangalore-based company. So again, it's kind of homecoming for us. We are the partner for IPL RCB team this year. because we can do a lot of activations locally. And the Virat Kohli being the biggest factor, so that all helps. Do meet and greet with them. Now you go on Blinkit, you buy Happilo, you get a chance to win IPL tickets. And a chance to meet Virat Kohli as well. So we do a lot of gamifications with that. It's not only pure sponsorship, right? You go to Blinkit, you go to Instamart, you go to Big Basket, you get an opportunity to actually meet the players, win tickets, win merchandise. So marketing is all about how can actually associate and how can actually gamify it and reach the more audiences.
Okay, let me ask the final question. We're almost out of time. So, all right, business is fine. There's so much to do, and we're talking about all those cerebral things. But in real life, how does Vikas chill? How do you make that space for enjoying the other finer points in things in life? Also, after tasting success, being on that show now, everybody is wanting you to kind of talk to them, get your attention. How do you stay grounded at the same time? If I can have some.
No, if you would have met me 5 years before and meet me now, you'll find no change. Because I don't think any founder for that matter will ever change, because I think it's a part of journey what we are doing. I think I honestly don't call myself a success. I think I've only 1% achieved what I can actually do, because
that's a very humble statement.
No, honestly, there's a massive opportunity out there. India's time is now. The decade is India's. The century belongs to India, and we have the massive opportunity, blessed to be born here. So that's the thing what I want to say. And if we talk about how I chill out, I have 2 lovely daughters. So Sunday is only for them. I don't open my laptop on Sundays.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's have a round of applause for Vikas for taking our time and sharing his story with us. Okay, we have got the special 5-minute extension because they're just loving our conversation. So Vikas, tell me, often we have, if you look at all the top leaders, their self-discipline is reflected in the business. We have seen stories of, I have never met Tim Cook, but that he wakes up at 4 a.m. And you have Sundar Pichai waking up at 6:30 a.m. I mean, how important is discipline, a personal discipline? Does it have an impact on your business? Have you seen a correlation between the discipline and the business? And how can that discipline be built?
See, obviously,
especially, after a huge round of funding. Yeah.
No, see, discipline is very, very important. But if 4 a.m. works for Tim Cook to wake up, it works for me to sleep. So it's different for everyone.
9 a.m. to 5 a.m. is your time, huh?
No, typically I sleep around 1 a.m. And I wake up around 7:30. That's how, or maybe before 8. So I get good 6-7 hours sleep. But doesn't matter what time of the day you're going to sleep or what time you're waking up. 4 a.m. works for someone, but for me 7:30 a.m. works. So it's different for different people. Discipline has to come. How focused are you on running your business? How can you actually build the team, have the same, gratification, have the same facility for every employee? How can you actually build a culture out there where people can actually look up to you and learn from you? So for me, discipline actually is individual, but culture is most important. And we have that, space to work because we have marketing team coming, to office at 11:30. And they can sometimes go back at say 10 o'clock in the night as well. So we have flexible hours. Discipline doesn't mean people have to be sharp at 9:30 in the office and go back at 6:30. We are not building a government organization.
Our HR is not here. Yeah. Okay.
It's about that. For us, flexibility is very important. On the same time, mutual respect is most important. Every person in the company has to have that equal mutual respect.
Right. So from here on, what is your vision for Happilo? Say next year. I mean, what is your vision for Happilo?
See, we want to build a 1,000 crore revenue brand in the next 1 or 2 years. We don't want to only stop at India. We want to be a global brand because when a Haldiram goes to US, it targets the Indian diaspora. But in the dry fruit snack category, I can actually sell to a US citizen as well. For me, the global market is there. And I believe, in fact, we have trademarked our brand in more than 40 countries. We want to actually be a global brand. That's the aspiration. But we want to take one step at a time. Currently, the full focus is on India. Because as I told, India itself is such a big market. But we are parallelly also looking at launching Dubai very soon. And we have global aspirations. And it's to build something very large out of India. That's the passion we have.
Wonderful. I think that's the big thinking that we need now, because we have had the domestic success story. Now we need to repeat it on the global side. But thank you so much, Vikas, for joining us on this conversation. Great talking
My
to you.
pleasure. My
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you.